Hi, my name is Usman. I'm an architectural photographer at Sonder Creative, and today I'm in New York City. I'm working on an assignment over here, but I thought I would take some time to do a comparison that I think a lot of photographers are going to find useful. Now, architectural photographers, one of the key questions, or one of the most popular questions I keep hearing is which lens should you buy, the Canon 24mm tilt shift or the Canon 17mm tilt shift. Now, if you only have the budget for one of these lenses, it can be a little bit difficult deciding which one is going to be best for you. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a bunch of comparisons. I'm going to be comparing the 24 and the 17. I'm going to be taking a bunch of shots between the two, and then hopefully I can help you decide which one is going to be best for you. I'm also going to be giving you some of my thoughts, but ultimately it does come down to your preferences because the way you shoot may be different from the way that I shoot. So right now I'm in an Airbnb, and I've got the Canon 5DSR setup over here with the 17mm tilt shift already attached, and I'm going to take a bunch of shots of the living room, which you can see in this frame as well, and then I'm going to show you what the differences are between the 17mm and the 24mm, and why one is going to be better than the other. Now, this living room is about a medium-sized living room. It's not massive, but it's a good size. Now, with the 17mm tilt shift, once I take a picture, I'm shooting at about 1.5 seconds. Now, normally I would be using other light sources because it is evening and night time, so I'm not getting any natural light coming through. So normally I would be using flash just to light up this room, and I probably use a little bit of light painting, but I'm not going to be doing that in this particular video purely because that's not the purpose of this video. So picture's been taken, and when I'm looking at this image, you do have this amazing view of the whole room. The 17mm tilt shift can capture the whole room very comfortably, very easily, and that's one of the things that I really like about this lens. Now, the issue with the 17 tilt shift is that you do have to be relatively closer to your subject, which means that you're going to get less compression in the image, which can be a positive. However, in this particular image, the sofa does look pretty huge relative to what it actually looks like, and also the armchair that's on the left hand side does look, again, it does look pretty big and long, and is coming into the frame. So with a wide angle lens, if you're not far back enough, you are going to get that perspective distortion. So you do need to keep that in mind. I'm just going to switch over to the 24mm tilt shift now, and I'll show you what the 24mm tilt shift looks like from the same distance. Okay, so now that I've got the 24 tilt shift on the Canon 5DSR, I'm going to take a quick picture, and you'll be able to see the difference between the two. Now, immediately you'll notice that the 24 tilt shift is obviously much more zoomed in. Different focal length, you're going to get a different angle of view. However, the compression factors are going to be exactly the same. Compression does not change with focal length, it changes with how far or close you are to your subject. So if I'm really close, even with this lens, at the edges things are going to get distorted. But the great thing about this lens is because it is a little bit longer, you do need to step a little bit further back to get the same framing. The problem, however, is that in most rooms, if you're a real estate photographer, in most houses, you're probably going to come across certain things which come in the way, like, for example, this wall over here or this table over there. And what that's going to do is it's going to prevent you from being able to go further back and get the same angle of view. So if I take a picture from here, you're going to see that this wall is obstructing the view, and it's not particularly great, and it's not a great shot in that sense. So you do need to shoot a little bit different compared to how you shoot with the 17mm. So here we have the images opened up in Lightroom, and I'm just going to run through the images that I took, and we're going to look at them again. So the first one, this is the one that I took with the 17 tilt shift, and looking at it again, you can see how the furniture looks quite stretched out. Table looks a lot longer than it actually looks, and the whole room just looks a little bit stretched, and this is the perspective distortion that you get when you use a wide angle lens and you're quite close to your subject. This is the second image that I took with the 24 tilt shift. I didn't move the lens further back, and because of that, the perspective is relatively similar. So again, sofa looks relatively stretched out, table looks quite stretched as well. The compression is basically the same, it's just that it's more cropped in, so it's slightly less noticeable. Now, with the 24 tilt shift, on occasions you might need to step a little bit further back to get everything in. The problem with interiors, as I discussed, is that obstacles can come in the way. So this wall is now coming in and it's obstructing the view, and because of that the composition isn't as strong. So with the 24 tilt shift, the thing that you need to do is you need to adjust the way that you shoot. So you'll need to move the furniture around. So as you can see, I'm just kind of messing about with the composition, moving the furniture just to see what I can do to get this right, and I finally settled with this image over here. Now if I took my time, I would have taken another picture and shifted left over here just to get the rest of the sofa in, and maybe a little bit of the door frame in as well, and with that I think I would get a much stronger composition. But that's something that I would do if I wanted to spend more time on it. But this is just a single frame, and I think that this works a lot better. It has significantly less distortions. If I just put this next to the original image, you can see that the furniture on the 24 over here just looks more pleasing. It doesn't look stretched out. You've got a little bit more compression in this image because I'm a little further back from the furniture. Overall, it just looks more natural. So for interiors, personally, I prefer the 24 tilt shift. But like I said, you just need to adjust the way that you shoot, and you may need to move things around to get the perspective and to get the composition that you want. So I'm back in England now, and this is one of my favorite spots in Leeds if you watch any of my other videos. But there is another thing that I want to demonstrate very quickly with between both of these two lenses, and that is that if you're shooting with a 17mm, you're going to see a lot more perspective distortion if you're shooting your subject or your building a little bit off center. So if you shoot your building a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, it's just going to look like it's stretching out a little bit, and it's just going to make things a little bit more trickier to deal with. With the 24mm, it is still a wide angle lens, so you are going to get a little bit of it, but not as much as the 17mm. So I've got the 24mm on the 5DSR. I'm going to take a quick picture with the building behind me, which is Bridgewater Place. I'm going to have it composed a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, and dead on center as well. And you'll see the difference between all three and how the shape of the building will actually change depending on your composition. So let's take the first picture, 24 on the 5DSR. And that's the first picture, and that's with the building dead on in the center. Now if I quickly move the composition off and have the building a little bit more towards the right of the frame and take a picture, you'll see how the shape of the building is a little bit different, and it looks like it's been stretched to the right. Right, so I've switched over to the 17mm now, and we're going to do the same thing. So I've got the building composed in the center of the frame now. I'll take a quick picture, and you'll see what the shape of the building looks like there. And now I'm just going to move it so that the building is towards the right of the frame, and take another picture of it again. And you'll see how the building is going to be stretched a lot more with this lens than it is with the 24mm. And this is something which is going to cause a few issues and could make things a little bit difficult in post, or if you are photographing for, let's say, an architectural firm or someone who's going to be very particular about distortions and so on, then they may not like the look that you're going to get from the 17mm. Now you may come across some scenarios when the 24 tilt shift is just not wide enough. Even when you shift right to the edges, you can't get everything in the frame, especially when it comes to buildings as tall as these. This is one of the tallest buildings in New York. Now ignore the lighting and the weather, because they were obviously shot at different times, but this is just to illustrate a point, and that is that with the 17 tilt shift, I can shift the lens up and get the whole building in one shot. With the 24 tilt shift, however, even when I shifted right to the edge, I had to tilt the lens or tilt the camera up in order to get the rest of the building in. And if you have to tilt the camera up, that kind of defeats the whole reason behind using tilt shift lenses. So in these circumstances, as you can see, the verticals are off because of the fact that I had to tilt the camera up. With the 17, the verticals are still perfectly straight because I can get the whole building in one shot. And it's these kind of scenarios when the 17mm is extremely valuable. And this is why a lot of photographers love using the 17mm, especially when they're out and about and they're trying to shoot tall buildings in close quarters. Now, there are a few other things that you need to consider when deciding between both of these lenses, and they mostly come down to the usability factors. The 17 tilt shift is just much more difficult and much trickier to use, mostly because of that big, massive front bulbous element. You can't use filters on it, or you can't use filters as effectively on it. You probably can't do a lens cast calibration on it either. So because of that, you're not going to be able to cut down on the reflections if you need to use a polarizer. You're not going to be able to get that vignette off or create profiles to get a much cleaner exposure with the 17 tilt shift than you can with the 24 tilt shift. And the other thing is that front element, that big massive piece of glass, catches flares from basically every direction. If you're shooting in harsh sunlight, the amount of flaring you're going to get with the 17 tilt shift is going to be way more than the 24 tilt shift. The 24 tilt shift is just much better, and also the fact that you can put a lens hood on the 24 tilt shift as well. Even when I was shooting interiors, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was shooting that living room in New York, you may have seen that there was a little bit of smudging and a little bit of flaring on the spotlight from the 17mm, which wasn't there for the 24. So when it comes to usability factors, the 24 tilt shift is just much easier to use. The 17 is just a little bit trickier, a little bit more difficult. So if you're not experienced with tilt shift lenses, if this is the first tilt shift lens that you're buying, I would highly recommend you buy the 24. If you don't have the budget to buy both, get the 24. The 24 is just much easier to use. Now eventually you will need to buy both of them, because the 17 tilt shift, like I said, there are going to be certain scenarios when you just need the 17, the 24 is not going to be wide enough, and in those circumstances the 17mm is basically indispensable. It's an incredible lens, and I highly recommend you eventually get them both, but like I said, if you've only got budget for one of them, get the 24. Anyway, just want to say thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. If you like this video, hit the like button. Please subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you.